Hi, all. Nice to see everybody. A few familiar faces. That's great. I'm following along on a list of some questions, and I'd be happy to take questions at the end of the chat. So with that, let's begin. My name is Jon Emanuel. Right now, I'm an innkeeper in Caledonia, Missouri, which is in southeast deep red Missouri. And we have, of course, breakfast here, and we also do dinners as well. I'll get into a little bit more of the details of that in a bit. But my biggest hurdle lately, sustaining my own mental health in the industry, is obviously COVID. I think that most people in this business right now, that would be their answer. And for me, I don't think that I have it as bad as other people, and I try and stay fully aware of that. We're doing okay through COVID, although we've had to limit our occupancy to 50% in order to maintain social distancing and other good practices in order to be safe during this time. But prior to COVID, I'm sure my biggest hurdle was dealing with what's called alpha-gal syndrome. And I'll tell you a little story. I was working in Denver. I lived in Denver for 14 years. And during that time, not only did I head the kitchen at Project Angel Heart, but I also did some side gigs as a culinary instructor at Metro State, and also as a butchery instructor for the Rocky Mountain Institute, or the formerly known as Rocky Mountain Institute of Meat. I worked together with Mark Denettis, doing teaching chefs and others basically how to fabricate everything from a chicken to a side of beef. Taught them how to make sausages, cure hams, things like that. When it was time to leave Denver, we came here to Missouri, and there were a lot of things I had to get used to here in Missouri. For one thing, when people complain about it being hot in Denver, they ain't got nothing on Missouri. It's like, it's advanced heat here. Another thing I had to kind of learn to get used to was a lot of critters. I was reading about some of the critters in Missouri while I was, having some downtime. And I remember I was up in St. Louis, an old high school friend of mine lives up there. And we were having a cigar and chatting. And I told him something I learned. I said, did you know that there is a tick in Missouri and other places, but Missouri is one of the hot spots, that if you get bit by it, it could possibly cause an allergy to meat. And I remember saying to him specifically, that would suck, And, we were talking about how, life altering that might be. Well, 4 months later, I was sitting on the couch. I don't know what I had eaten, and my bottom lip just turned into like a hockey puck, And I took pictures. I'm like, I must be allergic to something, This doesn't happen very often, so I really didn't think much of it. And then a day or two later, my top lip did the same thing. I said, there must just be something in the air. And then a few days later, I was cooking the dog's food, which was boiling ground beef. And I leaned over just to see what it smelled like, chef habit. And a couple minutes later, it was actually pretty quick, I felt my lungs tightening up. And that's when I thought to myself, oh, wow, maybe I have that thing, that I thought would be so sucky when I got it, So I tried a few things to see, I laid off red meat because it's an allergy to mammal meat specifically. It's an odd allergy because most allergies are protein based. This is actually carbohydrate based. Alpha-gal is a carbohydrate that is found in non-primate animals. So anything like beef or lamb or pig, bacon, rabbit, all of that's off the list. But if I wanted to have, chimpanzee, that would probably be fine. But so by the time I was driving to the doctor's office for the blood test to see if I had it, I knew I had it because just of the way that I was acting and not reacting. So sure enough, when the numbers came back, and you get like a what's called a tick panel, they'll test you for all in one shot: alpha-gal, Lyme disease, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And I was negative to everything except for alpha-gal, and sure enough, I had it. And I don't think that was the weight crushing thing that that started kind of the downward spiral. I think it actually started before that because I knew what I had, and I knew that, as part of my identity. I mean, I identify as a chef, and part of my identity as a chef was that I was a meat guy, So this is totally going to turn things upside down. I mean, here at the B&B, we were kind of known for curing our own hams, making our own sausages, doing all that kind of stuff, getting whole heritage breed pigs in and things like that. So there was going to be no more of that, and I didn't have any choice in the matter whatsoever. Not only that, obviously, food is a great pleasure of mine, and basically 80% of my diet was just torn away with me not having a say in it at all. I mean, it was like boom, you're done. So it was the more I came to realize, what this would be, the more of a downward spiral I sort of got in my head. And the next question on my list is, what was your rock bottom? Well, I think that it was just the realization that I wasn't who I used to be anymore. I wasn't, part of my identity, a lot of my identity was taken from me. And I think a lot of people that I know, if you ask them, who's Jon Emanuel, he's like, oh, he's a chef that does things with meat, So that was a real heavy blow. And long story short, from the things I was feeling and the things I was thinking, I knew that I had to do something because I was not in a good place. So I went and sought treatment, professional treatment, and it's hard around here. When you hear about rural areas having issues with healthcare, I can testify to that. It took me 3 months to get my first therapy session, and to be, diagnosed with the depression that I had. So, now, being on the medication, I take medication. It kind of cleared up my head, made me think a little clearer. But prior to that, when I had discovered the problem and I was just having a really hard time, my wife Penny said to me, you know what, I was thinking about this, and I used to be vegan, and I want to go back to being vegan. Not, I didn't used to be vegan, my wife used to be vegan. She says, I want to go back to being vegan, and I think you should do it with me. And I thought, yeah, that's going to happen. And she said, and I think the B&B should go vegan too. And I'm like, we're going to die. We're in deep, deep southern Missouri, out basically in the middle of nowhere. And how is that going to fly? Well, turns out, after doing some research up in St. Louis and trying some places and being pleasantly surprised and understanding that food can be good no matter what it is, as long as you've got good technique. I'm like, okay, let's try it. So between the medication and between the positive outlook that we had that we could actually do this, and then the resulting increase in business that we actually had, making this change, I made a nice turnaround in terms of how I was feeling, not only about my business, but also about myself. So in terms of the tools that I found to be useful, I mean, obviously the medication and trying to remain as positive as possible, which I think is actually has a lot to do with being on the medication, because I don't know if that would be possible if it wasn't. Yeah, I think that, now looking back on it, I think that it was, I'm glad that I've overcome these things. I know that there's worse problems in the world to have, but right now business is good, the food is good, the customers are happy, we're doing okay despite a lot of the challenges that are going on right now. So in terms of resilience, I think that I didn't have a choice in the matter in terms of being resilient. It was just something, I either had to be resilient or I was going to fail, and the business was going to fail. So I didn't have a choice, which was probably, like I said, one of the harder things to deal with in terms of the condition as a whole. As far as the central message that I can pass on, and my guess is this has been said before, but there are resources out there for people to turn to when things kind of turn upside down. And for me, like I said, there's worse problems to have, but for me, it was a big problem. I had to go, I knew that I had to go and get help, because, for something so life shattering for me, I knew that I couldn't go it alone. So, and big thanks to my wife and my family for supporting me and helping me get through it. And now, coming out the other side, perhaps better than I was when I even went in. So that's kind of my story. And I'm glad to have the opportunity, John and Aaron, to come here and talk a little bit about what's been going on. And I'm happy to answer questions or talk a little more if you need.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I remember reading your post on Facebook, and
I was pissed when I wrote that.
Oh, and you were clearly pissed, but you had already started to chip away at making peace with it, because I remember that you saying, I don't want suggestions, I don't want solutions, I just want people to know what's going on. And right. I remember running to my husband and being like, this is a thing, and because he's from Missouri, we go there a lot. Like, this is a thing we need to worry about. And he's like, no, that's made up. And then we looked it up and we're like, oh my goodness, this is a thing. And I mean, I remember just getting tested for celiac and feeling like, and I don't have it, but just feeling like, wow, how would this change? Just like you said, how would this change my life, my livelihood, my identity?
Sure.
So I totally appreciate you sharing your story of what that felt like and how you dealt with it.
My pleasure. And if it helps someone, that's great. And, you reminded me that another message that I might send out to people is, when you're out in the wilderness, especially if you're in the Midwest, protect yourself, because Lone Star ticks, that's what they're called. They have a little dot on the back of them. They can potentially give this to anybody. And the funny thing is that, I mean, not funny, but more and more people in this area are starting to come out. I hear people saying, "Oh, I know another guy who has that," or "Oh, the guy back at the feed store or whatever, he's got it too." So, yeah, if you're out this way or on the East Coast, really take it seriously, protect yourself. Now I have what's called tick armor. It's a big old Carhartt onesie, basically, a jumpsuit that's covered and soaked in permethrin. And then I put that on with my extra tough boots, and then a lot of DEET. So yeah, it's serious, because if I get bit again, it gets even worse. You can have anaphylaxis, you can have heart problems. I mean, you don't want it. Even if someone doesn't eat meat, they don't want it.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for that too. So the South Pole was preparing you for this outfit, though.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said the South Pole was preparing you for this outfit.
There was yeah, well, for the outfit for sure. But yeah, there were no bugs at the South Pole.
No, right.
No, in fact, we had a health inspector come once, and he's like, "Where are your mouse traps?" I'm like, "Good one." It's like no mice, no spiders, no roaches, no nothing for 800 miles. Rich can attest to that.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
It is just a sterile place, and I think I still have issues from it. I mean, I still got like little spots on my face from where I got.
Mm-hmm. At least you have wildlife.
Frostbite and stuff, and breathing problems from the ash from the volcano. It was a mess down there.
Mm-hmm.
But what an adventure!
For sure.
I didn't know Alpha Gal would make you lose your hair, though, John. Jesus.
Oh yeah, I went back to my shaved head. I actually shaved my head for the first time at the South Pole, because you were only limited to 2-minute showers a week. So it's like, well,
and all the hats you want.
Chef walking around with grubby hair.
Fair. Hey, buddy.
Hey, man.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
Hi,
There's a
John.
guy.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jim.
No, Melinda, go ahead. I was just going to say something stupid. There's a guy named John. He's got it going on.
That's right.
That was the first time I really got to meet you, was during that thing.
I
remember that? Yeah, that was fun.
I was honored to have been roasted by the what was it
Denver
called?
Improv Ensemble.
The Bovine Metropolis Theater.
There you go. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was a blast.
And it was great. It was great.
Well, I was just gonna say I'm grateful for your share for at least a half dozen reasons, and I have a tendency to talk too much, so I'm just gonna stick with the top 2 reasons I'm grateful for what you shared. The first is that I like that you kind of described how you walked into depression, through depression, and back out the other side, right? Because it's a good reminder to me when I'm feeling any number of ways that a person feels, that like it's cyclical, right? Most average human beings, diagnoses like Alpha Gal or not, go through like 6 or 7 depressive episodes in their life, right? But like you're a testament to the fact that it can be an episode. It doesn't have to be the full volume, right? Or the whole series, so to say. So thank you for that reminder. I needed that. And then the other thing I would say is I struggle with what you described as the kind of loss of identity as well. Not even necessarily as a result, like to you lost your identity as like a meat-eating, meat-loving chef because of something beyond your control, right? And with me, I chose to leave the restaurant industry for a while, and I kind of felt that sort of, well, who am I if I'm not this thing that I do, right? Who am I if I don't perform how I've performed, and stuff like that. And I've even been working with some other people who are experiencing some grief as a result of the loss of their identity due to aging, right? Like one day they could do this thing and the next day they can't, right? Like one day they could, stand on a stool to reach something on the top shelf without losing their balance. And the next day it seemed like they couldn't, right? And that really does bring in this idea that like everybody I see on the street or in the supermarket or whatever, they could look like an average white dude like you, right? And like could be fighting something like alpha gal and it's not obvious, right? Like, and you might have this thing going on. And so when I interact with them, if they're, cranky or grumpy or they're drawn to tears and I'm like, what did I say? Or, whatever it is, like it's a good reminder that like, you can't tell what somebody's going through from the outside. And like that loss of identity stuff, I mean, every single one of us is one day closer to expiring and one day farther away from being brand new. So it's like it could be anybody. It could be me, it could be you.
Yeah.
So that's
And
just a really good wake-up call for me to remember. So thanks again.
Thank you. And I do want to maybe clarify one thing. I agree with everything you say. Although I think when you say I came out the other side, I wouldn't quite put it that way. I think depression is kind of like recovery in that you battle it every single day. You know what I mean? And it's less like a tunnel where you come in one side and go out the other, and more like a hole that you're trying to climb a rope out of, and you're going to slip down the rope, here and there. I don't think you're ever going to get to the very top, but you can be higher sometimes than others. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah.
Well, my name's Adam, and
Hey, Adam.
Hey, Adam.
how's it going? I'm not really sure how the group works. I've never, I've never been here.
You're doing it. You're doing it right now.
Metaphorically, obviously, I'm in California. We got the Hollywood Squares thing going on, but I also related in a myriad of examples. I'm from Missouri. I got all the St. Louis swag on right now.
Got the swag.
Yeah, man. Remember this logo from the 90s? But yeah. So, and also amongst a peer-based group, I am a culinarian. I have a story. I also suffer from I have maladies, addiction, alcoholism. I'm assuming that's what this group kind of covers that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I recovery groups kind of come with jargon, so I'm like trying not to share like a goddamn AA group, but it's nice being in a proverbial room, just talking about the human condition. And man, yeah, I remember getting checked for ticks, just growing up. My sister would go into one bathroom with my mom, and I'd go into another bathroom with my dad, and just like a goddamn monkey checking through every crack, crevice, whole head of hair kind of thing. And yeah, just the things that can happen to a human being are just insidious, right? And like, and nobody checked in with me either, right? When I had something to face, I wasn't asked, and these things just keep happening, life on life's terms, right? But really cool. I'm just wanting to plug into the group, to be perfectly honest. Maybe on another occasion share a story. I got a doozy about the Culinary Olympics, and and kind of Denver too, because I think in '99 our culinary school from Kansas beat Broadmoor in the Colorado area.
It'd be the Colorado Springs.
Yeah, I've never been. I also think they're the headquarter of USA Hockey too. But anyhow, like I said, it's a doozy. It's a hell of a story. But man, thanks for your share. I know just because of what you shared with the group, and I'm gonna feel better leaving this meeting than I did coming into it. So thanks for your transparency and honesty.
Thanks, Adam. That makes me feel good about coming, and it makes me thankful to John and Aaron as well.
Thanks. And thanks for
Appreciate
coming,
that.
Adam. This is your first meeting. We meet I'm John, and we meet every Monday at 6. And one week we have a speaker, and then next week we have a guided conversation. And me personally, I'm alcoholic, but this group is open, to anybody. It's like putting your toe into the water and coming into a room full of truth. And maybe, we'd like to try to be a little more proactive than, the last door on the right. We don't want to be that, so we're trying to talk about wellness more. We're starting to shape in that direction. So you're more than welcome to come. And thanks for your story, John. I can only imagine, like I had an assistant once too, that similar thing. Then it was before everybody was gluten-free per se. And we found out the hard way that she was celiac, just by working, and then, she has a great gluten-free bakery now, but that was like almost 20 years ago. And, to have that happen and see her life change like that and watch her kind of freak out a little. And then selfish me was like, well, she's the best assistant I'm ever going to have. I'm going to fail. She can't be around flour. What's going to happen? But I've seen it, and thank you very much. And your reputation around town is, above and beyond. Everybody's like, you met him, you met this, you met that, but have you met Jon Emanuel? And I'm like, not that I know of. And everybody's, how could you not? So I'm glad to meet you here.
That. Thank you.
That Zoom lull again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got the lull.
Anybody
Well,
else feel like chiming in?
I've always got more to say. I don't think there's a day I don't have more to say, so I'll say more. Actually, I won't say more. I'll ask more. John, again, in talking about kind of that loss of identity, one of the things I faced in the restaurant industry for as long as I did was, being a woman in a man's space. And I'm not going to play that card. That's not the conversation I want to have. But then when I got out of the restaurant industry, kind of like somebody in the military who's no longer in active duty, I kind of felt isolated and left behind by the troops, if you will. Like, I don't know who left who, right? And so there's some sadness there, right? Some not just my own identity, who am I if I'm not doing blank, but hey, where'd everybody go, right? So I found, being an alcoholic also, I found new fellows in that sort of orientation, right? I found my new community, because I'm not married, don't have kids, don't have an extended family, that sort of thing. I have a sister and a mom, but like no aunts, uncles, cousins. Like, so my new network was in the recovery, and that became the anchor, which I related to the world through, right? And now I'm trying to expand my horizons, because I went from being Melinda as defined by what she does to Melinda being defined by what she doesn't do. And neither one of those were so healthy. How do you define who you are now?
How do I define who I am? I think that's kind of hard. I mean, I think I identify myself as a guy who, well, I'll put it this way. I think that the meaning of life is that you leave the world a better place than when you came into it. And I try to think of myself as a guy who is constantly trying to maintain that. You know what I mean? I want to do good things, not only for myself, but, you know, for, you know, everybody. So I think about, you know, that at least once a day. It's like, you know, leave the world a better place than the way you found it. You know, so I think I'm just a guy that's trying to do that.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, that was a big question. Good question, but it's I think we had an entire meeting on identity, and I think it ended in tears because we all were like, I don't know, I'm a cook and a sister, and I don't know. This is a really hard question, guys. But I like your answer, John. That's noble pursuit, and I feel if we could keep that in mind in our daily lives, things might not seem as big. Like, am I doing something that I'm trying to make the world a better place? I am. Okay, then just move on, even if it's not perfect or exactly how you expected it to be.
Yeah, and I don't think that who you are really defines what you know, the difference between what you do and who you are and how you define yourself. You know, I'm a business owner.
Yeah, I think that can be sticky for some people.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's hard sometimes, especially, I mean, in my life, I would say cooks are particularly susceptible to that. You know what I mean, John? It's like, I'm a cook to my core. You know, I think there's things that, you know, when I was, you know, a little bit busier in the industry, one thing that used to drive me crazy was martyrdom. And it's like, you know, I think a lot of times cooks get in there and just feel that they have to work harder than everyone else and be better than everyone else and put in 18 hours a day and all that kind of stuff. And it's like every once in a while, you know, you need to stop and take some time for yourself. Otherwise, you know, you're going to die a martyr. You know what I mean?
Hey, I resemble
So-
that remark.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it's things like that, I think, that make groups like this very helpful for people in our industry.
Yeah.
Always look at you as a adventurer, John, you know, kind of a raconteur, you know, sure you can cook, but that seems like that's always been a means to an end to try something different and try something new, you know. And, you know, I mean, I still, you know, we've had a couple of good meals together, and
yeah.
I can't wait to get out and share another one, you know, with you. Never going to forget the Adventurous Eater. The first Adventurous Eaters Club dinner that I went to was, you know, over at Mary Nguyen's place, and that was an adventure. You know, I mean, shit, dude. You know, you started the Adventurous Eaters Club. Of course, you're an adventurer. You know.
Yeah.
And, you know, and what an adventure it must be now, you know, avoiding chimpanzee, you know, on your diet, you know,
I can't eat pork uterus anymore, Jimmy.
No, I miss, you know, although the, what was that we had, the ant larva beignets, you could probably still do some of those. Insects are probably still on the menu, right?
Maybe. I mean, her duck tongues were on the menu for a long time.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm just, you know, I mean, I appreciate that you know, and thank God for Penny for actually, you know, dropping that idea, you know, and something that you could glom onto and run with and you know, put your twist